If you're searching for leadership development training, here's what most companies get wrong. They think the answer is hire experienced leaders from the outside. But that quick fix, it usually costs more, takes longer to onboard, and frankly, they rarely fit the culture. So in this video, I will show you why the smartest move is building a leadership pipeline from within and how the right training turns reliable team members into confident and accountable leaders. Stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal the number one reason and the number one mistake even seasoned companies make that will quietly kill your bench strength, as well as tell you how you can avoid it. Now, if this resonates, please do me a favor, hit the like, drop a comment, and whatever, subscribe, because I'd love to hear your own leadership development wins and your horror stories. So let's get right into this. You've probably heard the saying that the best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. Well, the same goes for leadership development training. The ideal time to start was when your company first launched, but the next best time, right now. And that's because when companies delay, the cracks will eventually show. And it usually starts like this. You start having a modicum of success and you have a successful salesperson or maybe a team, and you look at your top salesperson and you go, you know what, we need somebody to manage them because I can't do this anymore. And so you take your number one salesperson, they know how to close, they hit all their numbers, and what do? You promote them to sales manager. Makes sense, right? The problem is that person's not selling anymore, and because managing salespeople is really an entirely different skill set than selling, the team probably doesn't perform as well either. And the results, numbers start to slip and fall. The fix of hiring a sales manager from within all of a sudden became your new problem. Or maybe it's not a salesperson. You have a line and you have a technician on the line and they know your system's cold. They're always the first one you go to when things get tricky or if something's broken and needs to get fixed. And so because they're so competent, you move them into the crew lead role. Once again, this is a new skill set. They're equipped to fix and maintain and run your line, but they don't necessarily know how people work. Because leadership is about getting the best out of people. And that's not a skill that they've developed at this point. So once again, your productivity suffers. Why? Because your best technician is no longer doing what they're best at. This is the Peter principle in action. And it's not that these people can't lead. It's that they weren't set up to succeed. So what happens next? The company pivots. They go outside to bring in a leader with experience, someone who's done it before, but they're a bad cultural fit. Or the way they worked elsewhere doesn't work within your organization. Or there's 100 other reasons why it might not work out. And it's going to take you 6 months at a minimum to figure that out. Statistically, nearly 15% of external leadership hires fail within the first 18 months. As I said, they take longer to onboard, they cost more to retain, and the disruption can't even put a price tag on that. However, if instead of doing either of those scenarios, you actually invest in leadership development training, you'll see real returns. Typically, there's a 71% boost in productivity. That goes right to your bottom line. 114% increase in sales performance. That goes to your top line. And a 48% improvement in overall profitability. And this is according to Harvard Business Review. When you fail to put good leaders in place, your team's going to get frustrated, results stall, and your leadership turnover starts to become the norm. And that's why leadership development training isn't just a nice to have. It's how you protect your people, your momentum, your culture, and frankly, your hard-earned time and investment. Because if you're not building your bench and building bench strength, you're rolling the dice every time. So what's the fix? As we said, it's not hiring more people and hoping people figure it out. It's actually having a system, a leadership development training program and system that builds your leaders from within before you need them. And I'm not talking about generic workshops or soft skill seminars. I am talking about a deliberate, structured process that equips your team to lead with clarity, confidence, and consistency. And it starts with understanding a leadership strategy, your leadership philosophy. What's the purpose of leadership? What's the standard you expect your leaders to uphold? And how should your leaders show up every single day? And then understanding what are the tactics, what are the processes that the leaders need to use to carry out that philosophy, how to counsel a struggling team member, or how to coach someone towards personal growth and growth within the organization, how to delegate with precision, or how to deliver feedback without creating friction. These are the clear, repeatable, mission critical actions that every leader needs to master. But in order to master tactics, we need to have effective skills behind them. And that's where behaviors like clear communication, active listening, emotional control, and decisiveness come in. These aren't just nice to haves, these are the foundational skills to executing your leadership tactics effectively. So, our goal isn't to have somebody step up to a new role. Our goal is to have them step into that role, already equipped to lead. We want to set up people for success. In the military, we train our juniors to replace our seniors in the event of a casualty. Now, this isn't just about resilience, it's about readiness. These are our future leaders. And by training them early, it serves two purposes. Somebody gets hurt, there's somebody ready to step up and into that role. Same in your company. Somebody gets sick, God forbid, they come down with cancer. Who's going to take that position? When you have a ready bench, you don't have to worry about that. This is the mindset that builds a real bench strength. When people are ready to step in when the moment calls for it, not scramble after the fact. And by the way, a great leadership program doesn't just develop new leaders. It helps you identify who shouldn't be put in a leadership seat. Maybe there's some people who are better left where they are, performing at a high level, and they're where they belong. Because not everyone belongs in command, and that's okay. When leadership development is done right, it drives alignment, protects your culture, and turns your team into a reliable bench of promotable talent. And you're ready for what's next. Now, if you're wondering if you'd really benefit from a leadership development program, let me ask you this. Are you not able to take advantage of opportunities because you don't have enough leaders to take things off your plate? Or maybe you keep hiring top people whose best days so far were their interviews. Or your top performers are being poached by your competition and they're moving into supervisory or management roles. And they tell you it's because they can't turn down the money. But study after study shows that's not the real reason. It's usually the opportunity for growth, which you haven't been able to provide them. Or when you do promote somebody, maybe, it's a flip of the coin. Some folks rise to the challenge, others quietly struggle and end up taking their whole team with them. Some kicking and screaming, and you end up having to get rid of them and do it all over again. Once again, it's not necessarily because they don't have the innate capability. It's because they don't have the skills that were required. You didn't prepare them, and you didn't set them up for success. Sort of the final litmus test is if you just think to yourself, you know what, it's easier if I just do it myself. I used to be bigger and it was more headaches. These are sure warning signs that you are ready for a strong leadership development program because your business is depending on you to lead everything. And frankly, that's not scalable. See, it's not just for fixing problems. Leadership development training is how you unlock your growth. It's the secret sauce. Because when you've got trained, trusted leaders across your company, things stop bottlenecking at the top and momentum takes off. So how do you get started? How do you really build a leadership development training program that works? Well, here's my 5-step roadmap, and I walk my clients through this. And step 1 is simple. Define your purpose. Understand why your company exists. What value does it bring to the world? Because frankly, you wouldn't exist if you didn't bring value to the world. The bigger your purpose, the greater the allure. So for both clients and team members. I'll give you an example. A plumber might say, well, we fix leaks. We bring water to the tap. But a purpose-driven plumber, they're building civilization. They're improving health and quality of life. And that kind of clarity drives everything that follows, especially leadership. Once you understand your purpose, and why you exist, then number 2, you need to build your playbook. Your training needs to be formalized and written out. Start with your leadership strategy. Now, for my clients, I provide the Radical Accountability Doctrine. It's a clear framework that outlines the leadership philosophy, the tactical process, and the behavioral skills that drive consistent performance. You're going to need to define all 3 of these. What's your strategy? What does great leadership look like in your world? What is the job, big picture, of a leader? Once you have that, now identify what are the tactics that your leaders need to engage in to achieve this big goal. Are they expected to coach, counsel, delegate, make decisions quickly? Whatever those tactics are, write those out. And then identify the skills they're going to need to affect those tactics, whether it's clear communication, emotional intelligence, active listening. Put them all down and figure out how you're going to teach each and every one of those. Now, once you write the training plan, this isn't a one-time workshop. It's a progressive, real-world plan that you want to put together that takes your leaders and puts them into real-world situations so they can grow. These situations need to grow in complexity over time so that they can build on their skills and build on their successes. Think of it like flight training. You don't just take the keys, tell somebody, here's how you fly a plane once and send them off. No, they go up with an instructor. They practice first maneuvering in the air and then maneuvering at slow speeds and then approaching the ground under control and finally landing step by step by step. And even once they have their license and they're pilots, they are constantly training to become more and more proficient along the way. Just getting your private pilot's license is the first step. You're not a great pilot at that point. Now that you have all of that, step 4 is moderate and iterate. You're not going to get it right in the first try. That's okay. Don't expect that. It usually takes 3 to 4 iterations to get it perfect. What you're looking for is traction, not perfection. So as you put people through the training, get your feedback from them, figure out what worked, what didn't work, modify it the second time, same thing, third time. By the 4th time, everything should be firing on all cylinders. Your 5th step is to provide ongoing coaching and oversight. Because even once they're in a junior leadership role, right, they need to build on those skills as they go up. Leadership doesn't stick without reinforcement. We all need regular coaching, feedback loops, oversight from somebody who already models that standard. If we want people to lead differently, we have to lead the change ourselves. Now, if this sounds like a lot to take on, it is. And that's why I built my Radical Accountability Doctrine, to give you a ready framework that you can adapt to your team's DNA without reinventing the wheel. If you want to help making that fit, let's talk. Now, I promised you what's the number one mistake I see. They build a system, they train the people, they even start to see momentum. But then senior leadership doesn't follow the script. They're on their own program. They hold others to the standard they've set, but they don't hold themselves. And that undermines everything, that unspoken message that this is not important. If it's not for everyone, it's for no one. That's the number one mistake I see. And it's the fastest way to kill a leadership culture, even before it takes root. So look, if you want your team to rise, you've got to build a runway. Leadership development isn't just another initiative. It's the engine that drives consistency, culture, and growth. When you scale chaos, it can only end in failure. And you can't build a high-performance company without high-performance leaders. So whether you're just getting started or you've tried this before and it didn't stick, now is the time to get intentional. Because every day you delay, you're leaving opportunity, efficiency, retention on the table. Start building a system, set the standard, and start multiplying your leadership capacity so your business can finally grow without stalling at the top. You want to lead like this every day? Join the Radical Accountability Movement. Sign up for my newsletter at lockedonleadership.com and get your free Radical Accountability Tactics Guide and white paper. And if you want help building your leadership development program, you just want to bounce ideas around, I offer a complimentary strategy session. The link's in the description. Please like this video, drop a comment, and tell me your biggest leadership challenge, as well as subscribe. And this way you'll get more tactical strategies to grow your team and your business. So remember, lead with consistency, lead with courage, lead with care. Lead locked on.